Welcome to Living from the Inside Out. I am Holly Wade, your host. And today I want to address my single friends. And if you're not single, but you have friends who are, please share this episode with them. The reason I want to talk about this is because it's Valentine's Day. It is that time of year. And the world would have those of you who don't have a date or a significant other in your life think that somehow you are not enough. It comes in all kinds of messages. And I've been there. I have been there for 42 years. I was there, not having a Valentine's date, not having a Valentine. Because I honestly really haven't had much of a dating life. And part of that was by choice. Part of it was not really finding people that I was interested in dating for much longer than it really happened to be. So I had all these short-term relationships, and in all honesty, maybe just a handful of those in my 42 years of life up until last year. And I used to dread when Valentine's Day came around. I was sad, I was depressed, I was lonely, I was all these things because I bought into the lie. Wishing that I had that date, wishing that I had someone bringing me flowers, wishing that I had that kiss, whatever it was. And it wasn't going to happen. Several years ago, I decided I was just going to celebrate Valentine's Day with myself. And I was going to go all out and treat myself the way I would want someone else to treat me. I bought a salmon. I made this really lovely dinner. I lit candles. I served it on my best dishes. And then I don't know what I did with the rest of the evening, probably some kind of a spa or something, just to relax and chill and honor myself. And then that started to become my tradition. I'd make myself a really special dinner and do something to honor myself. And I know some groups of ladies will gather and go to movies or do something as a group to be like, you know what, we're single, but we're still going to go have fun. And I think that is fantastic. Yes, celebrate you. Celebrate you. And on that note, I want to challenge you to something. I want to encourage you to start dating yourself. So this Valentine's Day little tradition started to ripple effect. I had two things that happened in my life. I started going through The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and in it, she encourages you to date yourself, to spend 1 hour a week doing something just for you and with you, getting to know you, getting to know your talents, celebrating you, having fun, finding the things that you enjoy and doing more of that. And so I started to do that. The other thing that happened was Misty Tripoli entered my life. She's the creator of Groove, and I interviewed her a couple weeks ago. And she talked about just this one day. And it was funny because these two things had crossed my life at the same time. But she came and she did a workshop with my students at James Madison University, and she challenged them. She said, close your eyes. So we're going to do this activity. So if you're at a place where you can close your eyes, please do. If you're driving, obviously don't. You can still envision this. Now, I want you, in your mind's eye, to play out the perfect date. How does he ask you on the date, or she? How do they ask you on the date? How are you dressed? What are you going to do? when he comes to get you, what's that encounter like? Is there a kiss? Is there I don't know. And then what happens on the date? Do you get flowers? Do you get jewelry? Do you get to hold hands? What happens? Is there this picnic, like romantic lunch or dinner all laid out at this meeting spot on a hiking trail or something? I don't know. But this is your date, and I want you to think through all of these details, envision it. Think through all of these details of your perfect date and how you're treated, how you feel, what happens. And if you have a piece of paper by you and you have the opportunity, I want you to jot that down. Jot the whole thing down. See all the details. How does it feel step by step? Is this a day long? Is it an evening? Is it a little road trip? Is it, how are you dressed? Do you go all out? Is it more casual because you're going to be outdoors? What is it? And as you pay attention to those details and how you feel, here is the challenge. Take yourself on that date. Buy yourself those flowers. Treat yourself the way you want someone else to treat you. Go do that thing that you would love to do on a date with someone. And it's going to take some guts to do this. See, I started to do that. I started to actually live that out. Misty took us through this activity, and I'd written this out doing the Artist's Way anyway and had started kind of to do this. But I started making that a regular habit. And what started to happen is that it became really clear to me how I was willing to let other people treat me and how I wasn't willing to let other people treat me. It became really clear to me the boundaries that I needed to set in my life in order to tend to myself in that way, and the boundaries that I needed to set in my life in order to have the space in my life for someone else. Because my life was crowded. My schedule was overflowing. I was doing too many things and I was exhausted. If I didn't have anything to give to myself, how was I going to give that to a relationship? Because it's never someone else's responsibility to give that to you. That's your responsibility to give that to yourself. It's your responsibility to create this life that you don't need a vacation from. This life of your dreams, that is yours. And this is how you can erase or forgive yourself from those past relationships or from those past mistakes or from those past whatever. Because as I spent time dating myself, I started to really dig in and uncover who I was. These things that I had buried down there, that I was afraid of letting someone else see or know. And that's not fair to someone. That is not fair when you're asking someone to come into your life in a relationship. That's not fair to you. You're not accepting your whole self. And if you can only accept part of yourself, you're never going to figure out how to love yourself or how to have self-worth because you don't value your whole being. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to confess that it was not always easy to dig in and to look at the parts, the shadow parts of myself that I wasn't really that proud of, that I didn't really care for, the parts that scared me. And yet, that's who I am. It's really worth knowing what makes me light up, what my strengths are, as well as my weaknesses. And as I got to study and look at my own, those weaknesses, those shadows, those things that I didn't really care for, as I got to look at those, I started to realize that they didn't have to be bad. So as an example, I'm bullheaded. I am a Capricorn to a T. I am bullheaded. And what I came to realize is that I can use that. That has served me in my life. If I flip it and call it determination, there ain't nothing stopping me, honey. And that's sometimes exactly what I need to tap into and not worry about what someone else is going to think. Not worry about hurting someone else's feelings, because this is what I got to do. Now, I can be gentle, I can be loving and kind to them in the process. Now, as I was sifting through and going deep into all these things, what I really started to do was I started to take care of my body better. Because this is what I figured out. I am stuck with myself 24/7 from birth until death. So I might as well figure out how to get along with myself, how to like myself, how to be okay with me, with my body, with figuring out how to make it feel good, with figuring out how to nurture it and tend to it and just do these really loving things and these healthy things so it can be vibrant, because this is my home regardless. And then it started to go deeper. And I realized that, you know what, it's kind of fun to be in this body. And when that flipped, there was this something that started to ooze out of me that became more attractive. I started to practice smiling out of the corners of my eyes and to hold my head up, lift my chest out, up and out, walk with that confidence, kind of let my belly pull me as I walked, and kind of imagine myself bigger than I am. I'm not that big. I'm kind of a petite person. And let me tell you, that changed how people responded to me. And not in a bad way, not in this, like it was very genuine. It was very natural to evolve into this and to become more confident, to carry myself more confidently because I was more confident. There were fewer things to hide because I'd started to expose them to myself and to be like, well, this is part of the deal. Well, this is a part of my past, but it doesn't mean that this is always the way it has to be. And as I got more and more honest with myself and got to know myself more and more and more, it's funny because I would think back to Runaway Bride, if you know that movie with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. And in this movie, Julia Roberts is engaged to all these men, and in this dating relationship and these engagement, these men are all really different. Like one is a coach, one is an outdoor adventure kind of guy. And so she adapts to who these men are and becomes who she thinks they want her to be. And as a result, she never really knows herself. There's a lot of truth to that in myself because I'd been this people pleaser. I'd lived my life trying to live according to other people's ideas or rules or what I thought it should be. And I still wrestle with, what are they thinking right now? And I'm aware of it, so I can work through it. But as I started to dive into, what is it that I really do like? Like, why do I like to wear this color? This is really a fun outfit. This is kind of sassy. I kind of like this. I really like going to these places. I really like just chilling. And it's okay for me to just be. I don't have to do all the time. I can just chill. I really enjoy reading these books. I really enjoy, like, I really started to explore what it was that I enjoyed and what it was that I did not. And I learned that it was okay for me to speak up and share my opinions or my viewpoints and not take it personally when people disagreed. I may not like their perspective, but I didn't have to take it personally. And if someone didn't like me, that's okay. There are just people that we're not going to connect with. We're just not going to click. It's okay. So this kind of started to keep snowballing. And I realized that my life was my responsibility. I said this a little bit ago, but no one can make me happy. No one can make me content. No one can make me, and nothing else can. Like circumstances and other people can't do those things for me. That is my job, to figure out what it is that lights me up. It is my job to show up for my health, for my life, for myself, to set those boundaries and say, you know what? I don't think this relationship is for me. I don't see this going where I want it to go. You know what? This isn't a person that supports me anymore. So I think it's time to move on, and it's okay. You know what? My career is kind of stagnant. Maybe it's time to start looking. Those things are all up to me. That is not up to someone else. And I can't wait around for someone else in order to live my life. I think that was my biggest aha. And I think that as single people, sometimes we do that. Sometimes we wait, thinking, oh, when that person comes into my life, then. That's a lot of pressure to put on someone, don't you think? Do you want that kind of pressure put on you? I don't. I don't want to be responsible for someone else's health and happiness. I can guide them, but they have to do the work. So what would happen if you took it a step further? You date yourself, you get to know, you honor and celebrate your body, you honor and celebrate you. You honor and celebrate what you have to bring into this world. And what about a little bit of a courtship and an engagement and marrying yourself? Taking some time to do that. To think about those vows that are done at a wedding. To love and honor yourself. What would that look like? To love and honor yourself. That's not for a knight in shining armor. That's for you. For better or for worse. You got to stick with yourself regardless, right? That is life, those ups and downs. So how are you going to show up for yourself in the good times and the bad times? In sickness and in health? How are you going to take care of yourself in both of those? Because there's no guarantee that someone else can or will. How can you do that? How can you set up a plan so that you're loving you and loving your loved ones through doing that? Does that mean setting up a will? Does that mean getting your annual physical? Does that mean making that commitment for eating better and exercising to take better care of yourself so it's not a burden to someone else later? Really think about what that means for richer and for poorer. Finances are going to come and go. How are you going to show up for yourself regardless of whether you have the money or not? Because fun does not have to be dictated by how much money you have. Your self-worth should not be dictated by how much money is in your bank account. Those things aren't who you are. So take a little time to examine what that would look like, what that would mean to honor yourself through those wedding vows, through marrying yourself. Because you are the person who's stuck with yourself, like it or not, for this entire lifetime. You're the only person that you're going to have from the day you're born until the day you die. And that's maybe a harsh truth, but it's the truth. Your parents are, if they're not already gone, they will be at some point. Siblings, who knows what's going to happen with them? A significant other, well, maybe you've already experienced a divorce. You've certainly experienced breakups from other dating relationships, but you can't break up with yourself. I mean, you can, but that's going to be pretty rough. Now, when I did all of these things, and it took years. This was a process. But as I did all of these things and got to know and understand my body, understand myself, giving myself permission, and taking responsibility for my own life in every aspect of the word, and looking at my relationships, looking at my relationship with my body, my health, my people, social relationships, my finances. As I've started to look at those, I can understand more of me, because that's why we need relationships. They're a mirror back to ourselves. We need them. And the most important one that we will ever have is the relationship with ourselves. That is the most important relationship that you will ever cultivate, your relationship with you. And you will never regret taking the time to do it. Is it hard? Yes. Are there tears? Yes. There is stuff to work through. And the other side is so, so sweet. So let me give you the rest of the story. So I lived the single life all of my adult life. I had a few dating relationships. The longest one was about 6 months. And really, we only dated for 3, and then he was deployed. So all my relationships were very short term, very short term. And I'm okay with that. And then a year and a half ago, out of the blue, I got this message from someone asking me to go to dinner. And this was someone that I was like, I never would have even thought. And I had these reservations, and there were some things going on in my life at the moment that my life was pretty chaotic. And I was kind of like, you're not on my vision board. My dad was in the hospital at the time, and I was tending to him, and both of my grandmothers were kind of tanking in their own health, or kind of transitioning into assisted living and those kinds of things. So there was a lot going on in my personal life, and I was just like, I'm not going to say no, but I'm going to say not now. Well, bless his heart, he asked me again, and I stalled for about 6 weeks on giving an answer. Now, I'm one to believe that if a man asks me on a date, he deserves an answer, because it takes guts to ask a woman out. And so I did. I waited, and I kept going back and forth. I was like, oh, it's just a dinner date. God, this isn't what I want down the road. I'm trying to build my business. And all these reasons in my head. Um, and I was standing in the kitchen one day. I decided that I was going to say no. And I was standing in the kitchen. I was making myself some tea, going to come upstairs and do my work. And no joke, I had this like audible voice, like you could feel breath over my left ear, kind of lean in and go, "What are you so afraid of?" And I looked up and I was like, "Got it. God, I got it. I got it. I got you." So I went upstairs, opened my laptop, pulled up Messenger, pulled up his name, and went to type him a little, "Hey, that dinner date, are you still up for that? When do you want to go?" And what's funny is he was on at the same time to ask me one last time. This man waited 4 months, September to the end of January. Yeah, 4 months. He waited 4 months for me to say yes. And as I was messaging him, he was messaging to ask me one more time, and our messages crossed. And at the same time, so like I get this answer as soon as I hit send. I got this question, and we were both like, "Whoa!" And it's been just so wonderful. And I share all this with you because I took the time with and for myself. And as a result, I am able to give myself, my full self, my honest, genuine, insecure self at times to this man, to this relationship. And we have this really healthy and loving and nurturing relationship as a result. I know that had I not done this work on me, to be this person for myself, to be this person for this other person, to grow into this, that we wouldn't have a relationship right now. And we're a year into it. We're a year into it. So this is my first Valentine's, though he's on the road. This is my first Valentine with someone, my first New Year's date with someone. And for me, it's kind of exciting. So do yourself a favor. Figure out how to fall in love with you. Figure out how to fall in love with your life. Honestly, I'd come to this place where I was like, I don't think I'm going to have anyone, and it's okay. I really honestly had come to that conclusion that I was just going to be a single person. And they say it happens when you're least expecting it. And there's no guarantee. There is no guarantee that you're going to find someone. And it's all going to be okay because you figured out how to show up for you. You are never going to regret cultivating your relationship with yourself. You're never going to regret creating this tribe around you of humans that celebrate who you are, that support you, that are honest with you, that help you to rise up rather than to put you down. You will never regret making those choices. So for Valentine's, go out, buy yourself that dinner, that special dinner. Buy yourself that bouquet of flowers, light candles, serve your dinner on your favorite dishes. Go soak in that bathtub with a glass of wine or whatever the case may be. But whatever it is, just full on full on nurture and love and take care of you. Buy yourself a card, buy yourself whatever it is within reason. I don't want people emailing me saying, hey, you told me to buy that. I bought myself a little Lamborghini there. But do those loving things for yourself, because you can never go wrong with doing that. Happy Valentine's Day, and here is to you, to cultivating that relationship with yourself, because like I said, that is the best relationship you will ever have. That's the most important relationship you will ever have. And that's the one you got to take care of. We'll see you next Tuesday on Living from the Inside Out.